This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
Today's video is brought to you by Noom. In just a moment, I'm going to talk about an offer exclusive to you and my audience that I think you should take advantage of. Before I get to that, though, let's preface what we're going to talk about today in this video, and that is cults. Specifically, Clarence Thomas and Ginni Thomas. An expert now says that he believes they are in a cult, or there's a cult-like influence over them. I, for a long time, years now, have talked about the cult surrounding Donald Trump. I use the phrase euphemistically or colloquially, if you will, because I'm not an expert in this particular arena. I do believe that the religious tradition from which I escaped, I got out of, I do believe it to be cult-like, culty, the particular flavor of Christianity that I was in. A far right-wing, extremist, Christian nationalist worldview and view of the Bible. View of even Jesus Christ himself. You know, the turn the other cheek guy apparently has fervent followers who amass weapons storage and prepare for war, even though he was objectively a peaceful dude. So I know a little bit. I think I have some understanding, some grasp of what it takes to get out and what the ideas are and adherence to the particular principles of cults. But now an expert has sounded off. Someone who is studied, learned in this particular arena says that Ginni Thomas, Supreme Court Justice, and her husband Clarence Thomas are a part of a quote unquote Trump cult. Before I get to that, though, let's have a word from today's sponsor. I'm going to play a video of Ginni Thomas coming out of a cult in the 80s, an actual cult in the 80s that she was a part of. I'm going to play video of her talking about getting out of it. Before I get to that, though, a word from today's sponsor, Noom. It's quite heartening to see the blooms coming up, to actually stop and smell the flowers this spring. It really does feel like a new beginning as this season starts, an opportunity for progress, both in our country and in ourselves. Since last summer, I have been working on my health, a little bit each day with Noom. Noom is not a diet. It is not merely a weight loss tool. It is a program that utilizes psychology, science, and human coaching to help you change your habits and to inspire you to overcome your obstacles. Spring into a healthier you. Spend just 30 seconds today taking a free quiz at noom.com/Dollemore or click the link in the description to shift into a healthier gear today. Noom is so easy to get into. In just 10 minutes a day, Noom educates you about your personal health and habits while also helping you set reasonable thresholds to track and meet your exercise and diet goals. If you miss a day, don't even sweat it. Cut yourself a break and pick up where you left off. Noom's positive coaching from cognitive behavioral therapy trained professionals will help you get right back on track. And Noom's daily bits of wisdom and humor will motivate you to stay on track. So why not get started right now? Take your free 30-second quiz today at noom.com/Dollemore or click the link in the description to make your move toward better health. All right, let's get into this article from The Independent. I'm going to read 2 paragraphs and we're going to play video of Ginni Thomas upon exiting a cult called Lifespring in the 80s. After getting out of this cult, a year later, she met Clarence Thomas. Listen, let me say this. We all know someone who is a seeker. They feel empty. They don't feel complete. There's a hole in them that they want to fill with spirituality or a self-help movement or some sort of attachment to something. And sometimes these people, they go from movement to movement to movement to movement. They're always seeking. They never feel complete and secure in and of themselves. And it very well could be that Ginni Thomas is one of these people who was a part of a cult in the 80s and maybe moved to another cult and is drawn to these types of authoritarian movements, because that is what a cult is. Reading from this independent article entitled, "Someone is Unduly Influencing Ginni Thomas." Expert says Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and wife are a part of a quote-unquote Trump cult. I think someone is unduly influencing Ginni Thomas to believe those things. Now, I think this particular headline and this quote from this doctor does remove a little bit of agency from Ginni Thomas. It takes the onus away from her. It takes the responsibility of her actions away from her to a degree that she's being influenced by. She's a grown woman who's lived a full life and is ostensibly a smart person, intellectually capable. She has her cognition about her. So we shouldn't let her off the hook, but this may explain some of it. Reading from this article, Dr. Hassan left the Moonies in 1976, aged 22, became a whistleblower in congressional hearings, and has since helped deprogram thousands of other former cult members while becoming an expert and author in the influence tactics used by authoritarian leaders. An expert. Someone who knows. While hosting an event for former cult members in Kansas City in 1986, he met a 29-year-old Ginni Thomas, then known by her maiden name, Ginni Lamp, who spoke about wanting to expose LifeSpring, a controversial self-help group that practiced, quote, intensive self-examination, unquote, and disbanded in the 90s. Here is just a couple of minutes of then Ginni Lamp, now Ginni Thomas, talking about her exit, her escape from this cult, and giving advice to parents and family members on how to aid if you have a family member in a cult. By her own admission, you'll hear it in the first few seconds, she says, "I thought of myself as programmed." Watch this remarkable footage, which is now giving us a clearer view of the things that are happening in today's world surrounding the insurrection.
Hi, I was in LifeSpring, and I was what I considered to be deprogrammed. And I guess coming out of, when we talk about it, the focus of this discussion is on coming out of the cult, there were a number of things that went on for me. I think the best advice I got right away was get home, go home, where there's such a solid base of security and support and love that transcended my time with the group, that I could kind of hit solid base again. And I guess the parents sitting out there need to know that that was just real key for me, that I found myself and I could take a harder look at what I went through. I think my experience with my parents was real good, and then right after I came out was a Chattanooga experience that was really discouraging for me, very difficult for me. And that's because, as Carol indicated, there were some in this group that were extremely supportive, and you just felt as if you were comforted and embraced and loved and supported, just like that parental experience I was talking about. And then there was another faction that was saying, well, you've been deceived. You haven't really been in a cult that isn't like the religious cults. And I guess that was very, very difficult to hear coming out at the very beginning. And I've since gotten a perspective and felt, more secure in my knowledge that that was in fact a cultic experience, that I know those people are wrong, and maybe that's controversial, but anyway. So I guess I just want to say thank you to the people who were supportive at that point. That was very, very helpful. I think another issue that maybe hasn't been discussed is when you come away from a cult, you have to find a balance in your life as far as getting involved with fighting the cult or exposing it. And kind of the other angle is getting a sense of yourself and what was it that made you get into that group, and what open questions are there that still need to be answered. And I think I'm struggling with a balance between that. I want to expose LifeSpring. I want to keep other people from going through that experience. But I also don't want to go overboard in that regard, so that I'm not, so that I can reconnect with my own needs in a spiritual way, which I still haven't done. I still have so many questions, and I still have so many things that I want to talk to about with other people, and find people who believe as I do and who are searching as I do. And so all those things that got me to Lifespring are still there. And I guess I struggle with not going overboard and fighting the cults, but I know that's important too.
I was what I thought to be programmed, she said at the beginning there. Going back to this article, Dr. Hassan says that once a person has been indoctrinated into an authoritarian group, they are much more susceptible to falling prey to one again. And this could very well be what we're witnessing. Someone who has bounced from cult or authoritarian movement to authoritarian movement, they are drawn to them. And the ultimate authoritarian movement in the United States over the course of the last decades has been the Donald Trump presidency, the Donald Trump candidacy, the anti-establishment billionaire who's made his money being an establishment individual. The lies, the disinformation, the loyalty beyond question that you must show Donald Trump. He is like a cult figure. Quote, when somebody leaves a cult because they realize the group is bad, but haven't understood the psychological processes they were subjected to and been able to digest them and undo them, then it's difficult for them to truly change. Dr. Hassan's 2019 book, The Cult of Trump, found strong parallels between the former president's tactics and notorious leaders like Jim Jones, David Koresh, and L. Ron Hubbard. The lying, the need for absolute loyalty that I just talked about, the us versus them and framing of the next election as an apocalyptic battle bore all the hallmarks of a destructive cult. What has changed since the era of the Moonies, Lifespring, the Jonestown Massacre, and Waco is technology, the internet, smartphones, social media, and AI. Or, as Dr. Hassan puts it, the tools of quote-unquote psychological warfare. Now, you'll remember the text messages between Mark Meadows, and this is just coming to me right now, the text messages between Mark Meadows and Ginni Thomas, she talked about psychological warfare. She's still steeped in this. She's ensconced in this cult mentality. Dr. Hassan says it's almost impossible to believe that Justice Thomas doesn't share her beliefs and that the election was stolen. I think that based on their history, they were always enmeshed, he said. There are people who are puppeteers of Trump, and then there are different cults that are his base. It seems to me that Clarence and Ginni are part of this religious Christian right group. He thinks there is sufficient evidence for an impeachment hearing for Justice Thomas, a call echoed by legal scholars and Democrats. Well, all due respect, Dr. Hassan, you're not an expert in that. We'll leave that to the legal scholars and to political figures who can actually put that into place. I don't see any appetite right now for impeaching him, not among Congress. I would fully support the impeachment of Clarence Thomas, just based on the undue influence, his lack of willingness to recuse himself. Unethical, to say the least. This is scary. This is where we are in America right now. Who knew in 2022 these would be the things we're talking about, witnessing the possible demise of our democracy? What do you think? I would love to know. I'd love to have your opinion. We can have a conversation in the comments. That would be fantastic. You can also call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. Follow me on social media. Let's also have a conversation there. I'm at Dollemore on Twitter. I am at Dollemore on Instagram. I'm at Dollemore on TikTok. All those are great places to connect with me. And if I bring you some value, if you walk away having learned something or been in-tuned to something that you didn't know before, please consider supporting my work here on the platform. You can click the join button below this video. become a channel member for $1.99 a month, or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. I love you guys. I appreciate you. I'll see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.